But let's move on to a movie that I think a bunch of us saw in Susie Searches. This is a movie about a aspiring true crime podcaster, I think we can call Kiersey Clemens' character, an awkward college student who seizes on an opportunity to become involved in a viral news story about the disappearance of her classmate, and it then begins to spin out from there. I think this one was on my radar because it has a pretty stacked cast. Beside Kiersey Clemens, you get Alex Wolff, Jim Gaffigan, Ken Marino, Rachel Sennett, a small role for Jared Gilman. Amanda, what did you think about Susie Searches?
I thought it was super fun. This is one of the ones you kind of like walk out of being like, yeah, this is like perfect for Netflix, like not in a bad way. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in like a very fun way. Like teenagers are probably going to have a really good time with this movie. I really like the direction it ended up going in because I was already interested in it like before I really knew what kind of like the direction it could have even taken. So I thought it was really fun in that way. I always love seeing Rachel Sennett in just about anything. She just pops in and she kind of like steals the screen for a little bit. So that's super fun. But I'm seeing like a very weird poster for it right now. They switched the poster on Letterboxd and it's not good. Because like the first image I saw is like her smiling face with the braces, and that is like the perfect image. This is a terrible image, and I feel like this gives a horrible representation for what the movie actually ends up being.
It looks like the Ryan Reynolds movie Buried or something.
Yeah, like not.
It's better than the swearing jar poster still.
Yeah, but the swearing jar I think is going to actually manipulate the right kind of audience to watching it. They want the Notebook rom-com crowd watching that movie, and that's with the swearing jar. This is not the correct vibe for this movie in the slightest. But just like any kind of general idea of like somebody trying to like build up a podcast like that, and just like this like search for popularity, and like when you're introduced to her, you find out that she just has this like natural affinity for like mysteries and solving things. So you kind of think it's going in one direction, and then it just kind of like smacks you in the face and goes a different way. So I thought it was super fun.
Carson, were you a little more mixed on it?
I'm a little bit more mixed on it. It is kind of like two different movies. Like a certain thing happens and then it turns into a different film. And I think that second half worked a lot better for me because I was like, oh shit, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the film is kind of trying to be I honestly, the humor just wasn't really my thing. It's like trying really hard to live in this like Napoleon Dynamite-esque world where everyone's kind of quirky and weird. And like, I think when you can like tell the actors are trying really hard to be quirky, it just comes off like really unfunny to me at least. And I think when the film starts to kind of take itself a bit more seriously, this is not the film to take seriously, but like once it starts to like really focus in on this mystery aspect, I was having a blast. And I agree. I think like it's a great point. Like it is the perfect Netflix film. Like, and I do think, it's going to be big on TikTok probably. I wish I was kind of going into it also hoping that it would dive a little bit more into the true crime podcast subject. Like why, like, the implications of this being such a popular genre, and it doesn't really get into it the way I wanted it to. But it's still it's fun. It's fun. I just wish it was a bit more, and I wish it just took itself a bit more serious towards the beginning. But Alex Wolff killed it, and I thought he was hilarious. I
ended up pulling a Carson with this in reverse. I don't know what the ending is because my link expired on me, so now I'm gonna have to wait to figure out how this movie ends.
No.
How far did you get into it?
Like right when things start to turn, it's like 40% of the way in, and then it turned off. So I'm gonna have to patiently wait.
Usually, once you're going, you're good. Like
it stopped on me. So I'm curious because the editing pops a lot. It's very like you guys said, very fast paced. I really like your Napoleon Dynamite reference there because that's definitely how it comes off at the beginning, especially when she's dealing with her classmates and when she works at her fast food chain. So I'm curious to finish it whenever it comes out.
Yeah. I mean, it's a movie that kind of worked in fits and starts. I feel like it feels a little bit herky jerky. There's some scenes that are really good, and then other scenes that are a little bit like, what are we doing here? It didn't really feel cohesive to me, but there was still enough there that I really enjoyed it. Whether it's the performances, whether it's that whole idea of like where obsession eventually leads, and yeah, I mean, I the twist really, or the second half, I should say, really worked for me.